I still remember the day I met Alex. It was my first semester at university, and I had just moved into a small two-bedroom apartment near campus. The rent was too expensive for me to handle alone, so I posted an ad online looking for a roommate. When Alex showed up at my door with a friendly smile and a box of homemade cookies as a peace offering, I knew we'd get along just fine. There was something immediately comfortable about Alex. Warm brown eyes that crinkled at the corners when smiling, an easy laugh, and a way of making even awkward situations feel natural. We fell into an easy friendship over those first few months, staying up late talking about everything from childhood memories to our dreams for the future. I never expected things to change between us. That's the funny thing about life, isn't it? The moments that transform everything often come disguised as ordinary days. This particular day was a Saturday in early autumn. The kind of perfect day where the sunlight streams through the windows in golden ribbons, making dust particles dance in the air. Our apartment wasn't anything special. Mismatched furniture we'd collected from thrift stores, posters tacked to walls to cover cracks in the paint, and plants that somehow survived despite our inconsistent care. But it felt like home, especially when filled with the scent of coffee and the sound of Alex's playlist humming softly in the background. I was sitting cross-legged on our worn couch, sorting through a small wooden box that contained a few pieces of jewelry I'd inherited from my grandmother. Most of it was costume jewelry, colorful beads, and quirky brooches that reflected her vibrant personality. But nestled among them was a simple silver ring with a small moonstone that caught the light in the most enchanting way. It wasn't valuable in terms of money, but it was priceless to me. My grandmother had worn it every day of her adult life, and when she passed away 2 years ago, it was the one thing I asked to keep. "What's that you're looking at?" Alex asked, flopping down beside me on the couch, close enough that our shoulders touched. The casual physical contact between us had always been natural. A hand on an arm during conversation, falling asleep on each other's shoulders during movie nights, hugs that lingered just a beat longer than strictly necessary between friends. I'd never thought much about it before, but looking back, perhaps I should have recognized the signs. "Just some of my grandmother's old jewelry," I replied, holding up the moonstone ring so it caught the light. This was her favorite. She used to tell me the moonstone would change colors depending on her mood. I think she was just trying to make it magical for me, but I believed her completely. Alex took the box from me, fingers brushing against mine in a way that sent an unexpected shiver up my arm. "These are beautiful. Your grandmother must have been quite the character." Alex picked up a gaudy costume necklace with oversized plastic gems and held it up with a grin. "Especially if she actually wore this in public." I laughed, feeling the tension in my shoulders release. "She absolutely did. To church, even." She said life was too short to worry about what other people thought of her style. "A woman after my own heart," Alex said, placing the necklace back and picking up the moonstone ring. "This one's really special, though. I can see why you love it." The sunlight caught the stone just right, sending bluish-white light dancing across Alex's face. There was something in that moment, a softness in those familiar eyes that made my heart skip in a way I wasn't prepared for. I watched as Alex turned the ring over carefully, treating it with a reverence that touched me deeply. "Can I try it on?" Alex asked, voice suddenly quieter. "Just to check the size, you know. I've always loved moonstones." "Sure," I said, though something about the request felt more significant than it should have. "It might be too small, though." My grandmother had tiny hands. Alex slid the ring onto a finger, and as expected, it only made it to the first knuckle. "Definitely too small," came the laugh, light and slightly nervous. Then, instead of handing it back, Alex reached for my hand. "I think it would fit you perfectly, though," Alex said, eyes meeting mine with an intensity that made my breath catch. "You have your grandmother's hands." Before I could respond, Alex gently took my left hand and slowly slid the ring onto my finger. The metal was warm from being held, and it fit perfectly, as if it had been waiting all this time to come home. But what made my heart race wasn't the ring. It was the way Alex's fingers lingered on mine, tracing small circles on my palm in a way that couldn't possibly be misinterpreted as casual friendship. "Perfect fit," Alex whispered, still holding my hand. The apartment seemed suddenly very quiet, the playlist having ended without either of us noticing. I could hear my own heartbeat, loud and insistent in my ears. Time seemed to slow down as Alex leaned forward, hesitating just inches from my face, giving me every opportunity to pull away. But I didn't want to pull away. I realized in that moment that perhaps I had been waiting for this without even knowing it. When our lips met, it was gentle at first, questioning, uncertain. A kiss that asked permission even as it was happening. I felt myself respond, my free hand moving to rest on Alex's shoulder, steadying myself against the surprising wave of emotion that washed over me. The kiss deepened, becoming more certain, and I felt years of friendship transform into something else entirely in the space of a heartbeat. When we finally pulled apart, Alex's eyes were wide with a mixture of wonder and panic. "I'm sorry," came the immediate apology. "I shouldn't have. I've wanted to do that for so long, but I never meant to just." I pressed a finger to Alex's lips, stopping the flood of words. "How long?" I asked simply. "Since the day you opened the door with paint in your hair because you were trying to improve the bathroom wall color," Alex admitted with a small laugh. "You looked so determined and so completely out of your depth at the same time. I think I fell for you right then." "That was 3 months after we met," I said, amazed. "Why didn't you ever say anything?" Alex shrugged, looking down at our still intertwined hands, my grandmother's ring catching the light between us. "You're my best friend. I was terrified of ruining that. What if you didn't feel the same way? What if things got weird and I lost you completely? It seemed safer to have you as a friend than risk having nothing at all." The honesty of the confession touched me deeply. How many times had I pushed away fleeting thoughts about Alex? How many times had I dismissed the flutter in my stomach when we accidentally touched, or when I caught Alex looking at me with an expression I couldn't quite decipher? I had been so determined to keep our friendship uncomplicated that I'd refused to acknowledge the possibility of more. "I don't know what to say," I admitted. "I've never thought about us like this. Or maybe I have, but I didn't let myself dwell on it." A shadow passed over Alex's face. "It's okay if you don't feel the same way. We can pretend this never happened. I don't want to lose what we have." But even as Alex spoke the words, I knew that we couldn't go back. The kiss had changed everything, bringing to the surface feelings I had carefully buried beneath layers of friendship and routine. The thought of pretending it never happened felt impossible, and more than that, it felt wrong. "I don't want to pretend it never happened," I said quietly. "I just need some time to process this. You've had months to think about your feelings. I'm just catching up." Relief flooded Alex's face. "Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere." The rest of the day passed in a strange limbo of awkward smiles and careful distances. We moved around each other in our small apartment like dancers following unfamiliar choreography, hyper-aware of every movement and word. By evening, the tension had become almost unbearable. We ordered takeout as usual for our Saturday night tradition, but instead of eating together on the couch watching our favorite show, we sat at opposite ends of the table, the silence between us broken only by the occasional request to pass the soy sauce. After dinner, Alex disappeared into the bedroom, and I was left alone with my thoughts. I twisted my grandmother's ring around my finger, remembering how it had felt when Alex slid it on. There had been nothing casual about that moment. It had been deliberate, intimate in a way that transcended physical touch. As the night grew later, I found myself unable to sleep, replaying the day's events in my mind. Around midnight, I heard Alex's bedroom door open, followed by the sound of footsteps in the kitchen. Making a decision, I got up and followed. I found Alex standing by the window, looking out at the city lights, a mug of tea steaming in hand. When I entered, Alex turned, and I could see the uncertainty written across that familiar face. "Couldn't sleep either?" I asked, moving to stand beside the window. "Not really," Alex admitted. "Too much on my mind." We stood in silence for a moment, the city humming below us, 1,000 lives playing out in lit windows across the darkness. "I've been thinking," I finally said, "about what happened today. About us." Alex nodded but didn't speak, waiting for me to continue. "You're my best friend," I said. "The person I want to talk to when something good happens, or when something goes wrong, or when nothing happens at all, and I just want company. You're the first person I think about in the morning and the last person I talk to at night. And I think maybe that's not just friendship." Hope flickered across Alex's face. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that maybe I've had feelings for you too, but I didn't recognize them because I've never had a friendship like ours before. I didn't have anything to compare it to." I took a deep breath. When you kissed me today, it didn't feel wrong or strange. It felt like something clicking into place. Alex set down the mug of tea and turned to face me fully. Are you sure? Because if you're not, we can take a step back. I meant what I said. I don't want to lose you. I shook my head. I'm not sure about anything, but I know that I want to find out what this could be. I want to try. The smile that spread across Alex's face was like sunrise, slow at first, then brilliant. I'd like that too. This time when we kissed, there was no hesitation, no uncertainty. It felt like coming home to a place I hadn't known I was missing. Alex's arms wrapped around me, pulling me close, and I marveled at how something so new could feel so familiar. When we finally pulled apart, both slightly breathless, Alex laughed softly. I've imagined this so many times, but reality is much better. How did you imagine it? I asked, curious about these thoughts that had been hidden from me for so long. Honestly, not like this, Alex admitted. I thought there would be some grand moment, maybe on your birthday when I finally worked up the courage to tell you how I felt, or during the holidays under mistletoe, something cinematic. I never thought it would happen because of your grandmother's ring. I looked down at the moonstone still on my finger, glowing softly in the dim kitchen light. She would have loved this, you know. She always said the ring had magic in it, that it would lead the wearer to love. Maybe she was right, Alex said, taking my hand and kissing my knuckles just above the ring. Magic or not, I'm grateful. We stayed up talking until the sky began to lighten, sharing all the moments we'd each kept secret, the times Alex had almost confessed, the moments I'd felt something shift between us but had dismissed it. It was like rediscovering our entire friendship through a new lens, seeing patterns and meanings that had been invisible before. As dawn broke over the city, we made plans for our first official date. It seemed almost silly to plan a first date when we already knew each other so well, but there was something sweet about the formality of it, about acknowledging that we were stepping into new territory together. Let's go to that art exhibition you've been wanting to see, Alex suggested. The one with the light installations. And dinner after at that little Italian place on the corner? I added. The one where the owner always tries to set you up with his nephew? Alex laughed. He's going to be so disappointed when he finds out I'm off the market. The phrase, off the market, sent a pleasant shiver through me. This was real. We were really doing this. The next few days were a beautiful blur of rediscovery. We still did all the same things we always had, shared meals, watched movies, complained about our classes, but now there were kisses in between, hands held under tables, and a new openness that made everything feel brighter somehow. It wasn't perfect. We had moments of awkwardness as we navigated the shift from friends to something more, but even those moments felt precious because we were facing them together. Our first date was both familiar and entirely new. I spent more time than usual getting ready, suddenly nervous about impressing someone who had seen me at my absolute worst, sick with flu, stressed during finals week, crying over sad movies. When I emerged from my room, Alex was waiting by the door, looking equally nervous and holding a single daisy, my favorite flower. You didn't have to get me flowers, I said, touched by the gesture. I wanted to do this right, Alex replied. First date and all. The art exhibition was magical, rooms filled with light installations that transformed ordinary spaces into otherworldly landscapes. In one room, thousands of tiny lights created the illusion of stars all around us. Alex pulled me close in the center of the room, and we swayed slightly together, surrounded by artificial constellations. I used to look at the stars and make wishes, Alex whispered against my ear. Mostly about you, these past few months. What did you wish for? I asked, turning to look into those familiar eyes that somehow seemed new. This, came the simple reply before Alex kissed me, soft and sweet, beneath our private galaxy. Dinner afterward was filled with laughter as the restaurant owner indeed tried to promote his nephew until Alex gently explained that we were together now. His disappointment lasted only a moment before he declared us a beautiful couple and brought us free dessert to celebrate. Walking home hand in hand, I felt a contentment I hadn't known was possible. The city around us seemed different somehow, more vivid, more alive. Or maybe it was me who was different, seeing everything through the lens of newfound happiness. What are you thinking about? Alex asked as we neared our apartment building. About how sometimes the best things in life are right in front of us all along. I replied, squeezing the hand in mine. and about how grateful I am that you were brave enough to show me what I was missing." Alex smiled, lifting our joined hands to kiss my knuckles just above my grandmother's ring. "I think your grandmother's magic ring deserves some credit too." I laughed, but part of me wondered if there wasn't some truth to it. The ring had always been special to me because it connected me to her, but now it held new meaning. It had become the catalyst for this beautiful transformation in my life. As we entered our apartment, the same space we'd shared for months, but that now felt different, charged with new possibilities. I knew that whatever happened next, we would face it together. There would be challenges, of course. We would have to tell our friends and families about the change in our relationship. We would have to learn how to be partners as well as friends. We would make mistakes and have disagreements. But standing there in our small living room, where just days ago Alex had slid my grandmother's ring onto my finger and changed everything with a kiss, I felt nothing but hope for our future. Some people spend their whole lives searching for their person, never realizing that sometimes they're already sharing a small apartment with them, arguing over whose turn it is to do the dishes, and falling asleep on the couch together watching bad reality TV. I was one of the lucky ones. I had found my person without even looking. Or perhaps, as my grandmother might have said, the magic had been working all along, guiding us toward each other until we were finally ready to see what had been there from the beginning. Alex pulled me close, as if reading my thoughts. "What happens now?" came the whispered question against my hair. I smiled, leaning into the embrace that felt both familiar and thrillingly new. "Now we begin. Together." And as I felt Alex's heartbeat against mine, steady and sure, I silently thanked my grandmother for her ring, for its magic or lack thereof, for being the catalyst that helped us find our way to each other. Some might call it coincidence or fate, or simply the natural progression of feelings that had been there all along. But standing there in the arms of the person I loved, who had been my best friend and was now becoming something more, I preferred to think of it as magic. The everyday kind that happens when two people find each other in this vast, complicated world and decide to build something beautiful together. Total _char_count, 18,834.